Hi everyone, Spider-Man 1991 here, and I'm doing a review of Invincible number 104. This is digital, so that's why I'm holding the cover on my iPad. Anyways, Invincible 104. Pretty much, it starts off again where the last issue left off. Mark is trapped in the Wasteland dimension by Angstrom Levy, who's back. Mark pretty much finds a counterpart from a story arc way back in the day. Way back, where Angstrom Levy summoned a bunch of evil Invincibles to attack the Earth, and pretty much Mark finds one of his counterparts, and he's gone insane, and he's a cannibal now. He's eaten several other counterpart Invincibles, and now Mark's counterpart starts chasing him because he wants to eat him. Back at the Grayson home, Eve is about to launch an attack on Angstrom Levy, but she stops because she realizes that it would hurt her baby because she's pregnant. And Levy because he has like a bunch of these little robot cameras following him around, realizes that Eve's pregnant because he's seen it because basically Angstrom Levy has a giant brain, and the reason it's huge is because he pretty much uses his dimensional shifting powers to track down all his other counterparts and absorb all their minds into his, so he pretty much is able to remember a few dimensions where Eve was pregnant. And Levy pretty much talks to Eve about how there are how almost every single dimension Mark is evil, whether it involves his dad or the Viltrumites, but one of the things that makes Mark go bad is because something happens to Eve and their child, and it just pretty much makes him snap. Then we go back to the Wasteland. Mark is being chased by his other crazy counterpart, but he's fortunately saved by another counterpart who survived and says that the other guy's crazy. I've been trying to outrun him, but I think we can take him together. Back at the house, Eve recounts how Mark first met Angstrom Levy and the accident that caused his mutated appearance, and she then gives him a talk about revenge, about and pretty much shuts him up when she asks him, like, did you ever stop to think what you could do if you just stopped focusing on getting your revenge on Mark and actually did what you originally wanted to do? And that just shuts him up. And back in the Wasteland, Mark and his counterpart are able to kill the crazy cannibal, and then they notice a dimensional portal. They go in and follow it back to Mark's home dimension, our Mark, the main Invincible Mark. And right when they're about to attack Angstrom Levy, Angstrom Levy stops them and explains that how when he absorbs, that he had a very unstable psyche after absorbing all the minds of. Because the experiment where he absorbed all his other counterparts didn't go so well, and apparently, as he put, some wires were crossed, and he lost his way, and he surrenders to them, and he does say that another reason he thinks he lost is because there are so many dimensions where Mark is evil, or he's a dictator or something, that there seems to be more evil versions of Mark than there are good, but there are a few good versions of Mark, and he realizes that this dimension, this is a good Mark, so he decides to surrender, and he then opens a portal so that the other Invincible can go home, and of course the other Mark is about to go into the portal right before he grabs Angstrom Levy and says that on his world he has ways of dealing with people like him, and they pretty much go back to other Mark's dimension, and the issue ends with Robot meeting with Mark, and Mark's asking him if he could trace any of the dimensional energy. Robot says no. He also asks him if Robot could build some sort of device that could help track Angstrom Levy down, because as Mark puts it, because Mark knows that Angstrom Levy's still out there, and now Mark wants to find him. And that's where the issue ends. Okay, Invincible 104. Very nice issue. Again, I really do like. Again, this is the only Image title I check out. I get regularly. It's still a great series. I do like this. This issue was great because it did have the return of longtime foe Angstrom Levy, And also, it does kind of fill in a plot hole about what happened to the other evil Invincibles that weren't dead from that last story arc that involved Levy and the evil Invincibles. Also, it leaves you wondering: will Mark find a way to find Angstrom Levy again? And also, I did like how Eve kind of talked Angstrom Levy out of his revenge on Mark. Like, there was no fight. There was no no big fight between the two. It was just talking and selling it, working it out with words. I think that's like a big theme of Invincible, is that most of the time Mark will have to fight someone, but other times he just wants to work it out. He doesn't want to have to go through the whole supervillain superhero fight sequence all the time. And I think that's another good example of that theme of this comic. It's very nice. Also, I think we're kind of seeing some changes in Mark and Eve now that they're starting to become parents, because Eve can't use her powers while she's pregnant. She's obviously taking that much more seriously now. And Mark, on the other hand, I think at the end of the book when he says he wants to find Angstrom Levy because he's still out there, I think this is because he wants to make sure Angstrom Levy will never bother him again, just to be sure, because he's going to be a dad now. He wants to keep Eve and his child safe. So that's the reason. I believe he's now trying to find harder to track down Angstrom Levy. Yeah, and also the other Mark. I don't know if he was necessarily. I mean, yeah, he was one of the evil ones, but he kind of worked with Mark just so that they could both survive, and I think that'll be interesting if we find him. If we do get to see that other Mark's dimension, that would be a great issue. In whether or not it's going to happen next issue or in the near future, I look forward to it. Actually, I don't think it will happen next issue. I think this might be the whole Angstrom Levy isn't something that's taken immediately. It's more like he appears frequently, and I hope that we get to see Angstrom Levy again and also figure out what happened on this other Invincibles dimension. Overall, I'd say Invincible 104, another great issue. This is definitely one of my favorite Image titles. I mean, I love it. I get the issues regularly. Can't wait to see what happens next. Overall, great comic. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching my review. Thank you for subscribing to Dark Avenger Inc. Plus. Spider-Man 1991 saying see you later.